It was the kind of silence that had texture, not emptiness, but a pressure like the room itself was listening. The bathroom light was on. I could hear the faint buzz of her electric toothbrush and beyond that, the occasional rustle of fabric. Madison always changed into her sleep clothes like she was in a commercial, smooth, effortless, detached. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the half-empty glass of water on her nightstand. The same lemon slice from yesterday still floated in it, pale and bloated. The evening had ended normally. At least it was supposed to. Dinner. A smile. A kiss that never touched her eyes. I didn't say anything when she pulled her phone under the table and angled the screen away. I didn't ask who texted her 3 times in a row while she stirred her risotto absently like her brain wasn't even in the room. I didn't question why she started wearing perfume to girls' night. But I noticed. God, I noticed everything. 3 weeks ago, I picked up her phone by mistake. The cases were identical, both black, matte, no decals. I realized it wasn't mine the second I hit the home button. Her wallpaper was new. A photo of some beach sunset, not one we'd ever been to. The lock screen lit up with a notification, can't stop thinking about your mouth. I dropped the phone like it burned me. She came in just then, fresh from the shower, towel around her chest. Her hair wet, dripping down her collarbones. I didn't say a word. Just handed her the phone. She paused, looked at the screen, and then, without flinching, she smiled. Wrong number. I should have said something. Demanded an explanation, thrown the damn phone across the room. But all I did was nod, like an idiot who'd forgotten how to breathe. The thing is, Madison lies with a kind of confidence that's hypnotic. She never flinches. Never over-explains. She just plants the lie like a flag in the middle of the room and dares you to challenge it. And I, like the fool I've apparently always been, kept walking circles around it. There's a moment when the world you've built begins to rot from the inside. It doesn't collapse in a loud crash. No. It groans. Subtly. Softwood under your feet, a flickering light, the fridge that hums too long. And then, one day, something snaps. For me, it was the way she laughed at something on her phone and didn't show me. We used to share everything, dumb memes, inside jokes, Instagram reels of dogs sneezing. But that night, she held the phone tight against her chest like it was a secret she had to protect with her life. Later, while she was asleep, I stood by the window, staring into the dark. My reflection stared back, tired eyes, clenched jaw. I felt like a ghost in my own house. And then I saw it. A car I didn't recognize. Parked across the street, engine still warm. Lights off. Someone in the driver's seat, but the windows were too tinted to make out a face. 5 minutes. 10. Then it drove off. I didn't say a word the next day. Neither did she. But she hummed in the shower. She hadn't done that in months. It's the smallest details that betray a person. And I was finally starting to see them all. There are moments you remember not because they're loud, but because they're surgical, clean, precise, and deep enough to make you bleed slow. Saturday morning. 6:47 a.m. Madison was in the kitchen. I could hear the soft clinks of a spoon against ceramic. Coffee. She always stirred it clockwise. That kind of detail stays with you. I didn't go downstairs right away. I stood at the top step, listening. She was humming again. Same tune as the day before. Something upbeat. Something unfamiliar. When I finally walked into the kitchen, she didn't turn around. Just kept stirring. You're up early, I said. She paused for a breath, a small, imperceptible break, and smiled. Couldn't sleep. The lie wasn't in her words. It was in her posture. Her back straightened just a little too much. Her fingers gripped the spoon like it owed her something. I sat down at the island. She handed me a cup of coffee. Black. No sugar. I drink mine with cream. Always have. I looked at her and she blinked like she'd been caught speeding. Oh, I thought, she began. You thought wrong, I said. She gave me a tight smile, turned back to the sink, and started rinsing the mug she'd used. I noticed her phone wasn't on the counter like usual. It was in her back pocket, half visible, screen facing inward. I had a plan now. A sick, quiet plan I hated myself for needing. That night, while she slept, I synced her iCloud. She'd left it logged in once, long ago, on the old laptop we keep in the office. I had no reason to use it before. But that night, I opened it like a surgeon opens a chest cavity, careful, focused, heart-pounding. Photos. Messages. Notes. The first thing that hit me was a series of selfies she'd taken in a hotel room I didn't recognize. Hair curled, lips glossed, one strap of her dress slid off her shoulder. Same pose. 3 angles. All sent to a number saved as L. The messages followed. I can still taste you. Next Tuesday can't come fast enough. I told him I'm working late again, LOL. I didn't feel the heartbreak. Not yet. It was too precise. Too calculated. What I felt was something colder. Like slipping into a frozen lake and realizing you're too deep to scream. I scrolled through the call logs. Late nights. Lunch breaks. Sundays. It wasn't random. It wasn't accidental. This was a second life, carefully crafted, neatly hidden. One message stopped me cold. He suspects something. He looked right at me tonight. I think I'm gonna have to end it soon. She wasn't talking about ending the affair. She was talking about me. The betrayal wasn't just physical. It wasn't just emotional. It was strategic. She knew. She knew I was waking up. And instead of stopping, she planned to pivot. To manipulate. To outmaneuver. I shut the laptop. Went downstairs. She was asleep on the couch, blanket pulled over her knees, TV humming low. She looked peaceful. Serene. And I stood there watching her breathe, trying to remember if I had ever really known this woman. My hands shook, but I didn't make a sound. Because now I wasn't just her husband. I was her shadow. And I was going to find out everything. 2 days later, I followed her. No disguises. No trench coat. Just me in my car, 3 lengths behind hers, every nerve in my body screaming that this was insane. That if she caught me, it would all unravel too soon. But the truth had a gravity now. It pulled at me not like curiosity, but like hunger. She left the house around 6:15 p.m., said she had a team meeting that could go late. She always threw in those harmless, vague phrases, little cushion lies that used to roll right past me. Now they clanged in my ears like warnings. I watched her take the highway, not toward her office, but the opposite direction. West. Toward the city. I followed from a distance, no music, no distractions. Just headlights and silence and the taste of rust in the back of my throat. She pulled into the parking garage of a hotel. Mid-range, nothing flashy, but definitely not business casual. I parked on the street, waited 5 minutes, then followed on foot. Inside the lobby, she walked like she owned the place. Confident, heels sharp against the tile. She didn't stop at the front desk. She already had a key. That hit harder than I expected. Elevator. Floor 6. I waited. Counted to 60. Then stepped into the elevator alone, palms sweaty. I didn't go all the way. Just to floor 5. Quiet. Deserted. I found the stairwell and crept up 1 flight. The hallway was thick with perfume and recycled air. I stayed out of sight near the fire exit, listening. Then I heard it, laughter. Not hers. His. Room 627. I didn't move. I didn't knock. I didn't break down the door or scream or cry or demand anything. Instead, I pulled out my phone and started recording. Audio only. 1 minute. Then 2. Laughter. Then muffled voices. Then silence. I stopped the recording. Slipped away. Back in my car, I sat still for what felt like hours. The sun had set. Streetlights cast long shadows across my windshield. I pressed play on the recording once, just to make sure it had worked. Her voice. His voice. No denials left. No room for doubt. I didn't cry. I didn't even blink. Because something inside me, something slow and dangerous, had finally woken up. I drove home in silence, my grip on the wheel steady now. Calm. Like someone walking into a fire, not to escape it, but to watch it burn. Tomorrow, I'd confront her. But not how she expected. She thought she knew me. She didn't know a damn thing. The next morning started like any other lie we called routine. She made toast. I poured coffee. Neither of us looked each other in the eye for more than a few seconds, a dance we'd grown good at. She wore her casual Friday outfit. Light blouse, subtle lipstick, a necklace she only started wearing 2 weeks ago. She told me once she bought it online. That was a lie too. I'd seen the receipt in her purse. He gave it to her. As she buttered her toast, I watched her closely. She looked relaxed. Like someone who thought the worst was behind her. And that's when I realized she wasn't afraid of being caught. She thought she had already won. That I would never challenge her, never confront her, never see her. She was wrong. I waited until she grabbed her keys. Hey Mads, I said casually. She turned. Yeah? I was thinking of booking us a weekend away. She blinked. I smiled. Somewhere with a view. Her lips twitched. Really? Yeah. Maybe someplace like the Lakeshore Grand. I watched the name hit her like a slap. It was the hotel. The one from 2 nights ago. She froze for just a second. Barely enough to register. Then, like the pro she was, she laughed. That's so random. What made you think of that place? I shrugged. Heard good things. You ever been? She tilted her head. Nope. Right to my face. And with that single word, I knew I was done playing nice. That night, I prepared everything. Sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and headphones making backups. The audio file, screenshots of messages, photos I pulled from her synced cloud storage. Even a copy of the room reservation in her name, the digital receipt with her signature and check-in time. I wasn't going to just confront her. I was going to corner her. At 10:08 p.m., she walked in from drinks with the girls, humming again. This time, I didn't pretend to be asleep. I stood in the hallway. She paused when she saw me. "Hey," she said, sliding off her heels. "You're up late." "Couldn't sleep," I said. She walked past me. "I'm exhausted. Long night." I followed her to the bedroom. She sat at her vanity, pretending to take off her earrings, like this was just another day. I took out my phone, played the recording. Her eyes shot to mine. "What is that?" she asked sharply. I didn't answer, just let it play. The laughter, the voices, the lies. Her face changed, flickered like a bad signal before settling into something hard, cold. "I don't know what you think you've got," she said flatly. "No." I walked closer, dropped the screenshots on the bed. "Because this looks pretty clear to me." She stared at them, not ashamed, not sorry, just calculating. And then, she looked me dead in the eye and said, "You should have stayed out of it." That moment broke something, not just between us, but in me. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't scared. She was angry that I'd caught her, furious that I'd dared to look. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just nodded, walked out of the room, and closed the door behind me, because now I was done pretending, and tomorrow I'd start the real war. I didn't sleep that night, not a single minute. I sat in the living room, lights off, just me and the low hum of the refrigerator in the background. Madison stayed in the bedroom, door locked, her silent declaration of war. I could hear her moving around in there, occasionally opening drawers, pacing. She didn't come out, and I didn't go in. It was better this way, cleaner. At sunrise, I got dressed. Not work clothes, jeans, an old jacket, sneakers. Comfortable enough for what I was about to do. I drove to the office, but I didn't go in. I parked in the lot across the street and waited. At 8:42 a.m., Madison pulled up in her car. Fresh curls, lip gloss, that same necklace. She looked unbothered, like the previous night had been a mild inconvenience, like this morning was just another Friday, and her husband hadn't dropped the weight of her lies into her lap 12 hours ago. I waited for 5 minutes, then crossed the street. But I didn't head to her floor. I went straight to HR. You see, Madison wasn't just cheating. She was cheating with her boss, Logan Sanders, 49, married, 2 kids, vice president of her department. I didn't know that detail until I found the second iCloud backup. She had screenshots saved, little trophies, it seemed, of messages he'd sent her. Photos, even calendar invites to fake strategy meetings that lined up perfectly with hotel stays. One of them was literally titled, "Check-in 3:30, winky face." So I handed all of it, every screenshot, audio file, and message, to the woman behind the glass door with human resources, stamped in neat black letters. I didn't do it out of pettiness. I did it because people like Madison and Logan build their own kingdoms out of lies, and I wasn't going to let them rule over mine anymore. She'd made this personal. Now I was making it official. HR told me they'd begin an investigation, that it might take time, that everything I'd shared would be treated confidentially. I told them they'd want to check the company credit card records. Room 627 had been charged to an internal account. After that, I went home. Madison was already there. She was sitting at the kitchen table, one leg crossed over the other, drink in hand. Red wine. 9 in the morning. Classy. She didn't even flinch when she saw me. "You're really doing this?" she asked. "I already did." She smirked. "You think this is going to hurt me?" "No," I said. "I think it's going to expose you." She leaned back in her chair. "You always were dramatic." I stared at her for a long second. "And you always were a liar." She tilted her head. "You think this makes you strong?" Running to HR like a little kid telling on the big bad boss. I stepped closer. "No. What makes me strong is not throwing this glass in your face. She blinked. But she didn't look scared. She looked bored. And in that moment, I realized she wasn't even fighting me anymore. She was just watching me burn. Well, that was fine. Because I'd already made peace with the fire. And she was standing in it too, whether she realized it or not. By Monday, the office was buzzing. I didn't need confirmation to know the investigation had started. The energy changed: sharp glances, hushed whispers, people suddenly avoiding eye contact. Madison didn't show up for work. Neither did Logan. That silence was confirmation enough. Back at home, things were quieter than they had any right to be. She barely spoke. We moved around each other like strangers stuck in a room with no exits. The air was thick with the things we didn't say, not regret, not guilt, just exhaustion. Then came Tuesday. She sat me down at the dining table like she was conducting a business meeting. No, we need to talk. Just a folder placed neatly in front of me. Inside, divorce papers. I think it's time, she said, tone flat. We both know this isn't going anywhere. I stared at the signature line already marked with her name. You're not even going to try to lie one more time? She blinked slowly. Why bother? You've clearly made your choice. No, I said. You made the choices. I just reacted. She sipped her coffee, calm as ever. I could drag this out. We both know I have more to lose, but that doesn't mean I won't fight. I'm not afraid of a fight anymore. She leaned back in her chair, studying me. You really think people are going to see you as the victim? I laughed low, bitter. I don't care what people see. I know what I saw, what I heard, and I'm done protecting your image. Her jaw tightened. Just a flicker. The first crack in her armor. I want the house, she said. Then buy me out. She blinked. You're not staying here, I added. Not while we settle this. Pack your things. She didn't move. And if I don't? I stood. Then I'll have the locks changed and send the rest to your new boyfriend's office. That's if he still has one. Silence stretched between us like wire, tight and ready to snap. She eventually stood, slow, deliberate, and walked upstairs without another word. 3 hours later, she left. 2 suitcases, no goodbye. Just the sharp slam of the front door and the faint smell of her perfume trailing behind like a ghost. I stood in the hallway listening to the quiet that followed. It was over. Not just the marriage. Not just the betrayal. The pretending. The hoping. The forgiving. Gone. And what was left was something raw but clean. Something honest for the first time in years. I didn't hear from her for a week. Not a call. Not a text. Nothing. The silence was jarring at first, like when you leave a concert and your ears still ring from the noise. But slowly, the quiet started to feel good. Like space was opening up in my chest where something heavy used to sit. Then came the email. Subject line, we need to talk. She didn't even bother with a greeting. Just a block of cold, neat text telling me she wanted to come by to collect the rest of her belongings and discuss final logistics. No mention of what she did. No apology. Just the administrative voice of someone ticking boxes. I told her she could come by Thursday between 5 and 6 p.m. and that I wouldn't be there. I left her boxes in the garage, labeled and sealed. Every drawer, every cabinet checked. Her junk gone. Her life packed up like debris after a storm. But when I got home later that night, I noticed something. She'd left a photo behind. It wasn't just any photo. It was the photo, the one we took on our 2nd anniversary in New Orleans. Bourbon Street behind us, lights blurry, both of us drunk and stupidly happy. I remember thinking that night that I'd found the person I wanted to get old with. She'd left it face down on the nightstand. No note. No explanation. I stared at it for a long time. Then I burned it. Outside, in the fire pit. Watched the corners curl, the smiles blacken, the sky behind us turn to ash. Because I finally understood that photo didn't mean anything to her anymore. Maybe it never had. And I wasn't going to be the only one still carrying its weight. Later that weekend, her sister Rachel reached out to me. Said she was so sorry that she had no idea that Madison hadn't told anyone what happened. I almost laughed. Of course she hadn't. Because in her version of the story, I was probably the villain. The insecure husband. The one who spied, who overreacted, who couldn't handle a modern relationship. Rachel asked if we could talk. Said she wanted to hear my side. I told her there was no side. Just facts. A timeline. And a long list of things that never added up until they finally did. The next morning, I got a call from HR. Logan had resigned. Personal reasons. Madison, they said, had been placed on unpaid leave pending further review. I thanked them and hung up. It wasn't vindication. It wasn't justice. But it was something. It was the sound of cracks finally reaching the surface. The house was too quiet after she left. Not peaceful. Not yet. Just, still. Like the walls were holding their breath. I found myself pacing through rooms like I was retracing memories, checking for damage. The kitchen where she used to fake phone calls. The hallway where she passed me without touching. Our bedroom stripped of her perfume, her earrings, her lies. All of it felt foreign now. Like I was walking through someone else's life. Then I opened the closet. She'd left behind a single sweater. One of mine, actually. One I hadn't seen in months. Gray, soft, oversized. She used to steal it when it got cold. She wore it the night we binge-watched Breaking Bad for the third time. She wore it the night she told me she felt lucky to be married to someone like me. I stood there holding it, realizing just how good she was at delivering those lines. And how badly I wanted to believe them. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I folded the sweater and dropped it into a bag labeled donations. Let someone else give it a second life. By Monday, my lawyer had filed the first round of paperwork. No contest, no fight from her side. Just her signature, neat and detached. Like this was a deal she was closing, not a life she was walking away from. But here's the thing. When the paperwork came back, I noticed something. A detail. In the assets disclosure section, she had listed independent savings account, an account I didn't know existed. It had been opened 9 months ago, right around the time she started staying late at work. And it had over $24,000 in it. I called the bank. The account was in her name only. But it had been funded by monthly transfers from our joint account, amount small enough to avoid notice, but regular. She'd been skimming from me. Saving up. Not for us. For her exit. It wasn't just an affair. It wasn't even betrayal anymore. It was a plan. One she'd started building long before the first lie passed her lips. I sent the statement to my lawyer. He said we had a strong claim for financial misconduct. I said I didn't want the money back. He paused. You sure? Yeah, I told him. Let her keep it. He didn't understand. But I did. Let her keep every last cent of what she stole. Because I wanted her to look at that number every time she opened her banking app and remember exactly what it cost her to lose me. And know that it was never enough. I started sleeping with the windows open. Not because I needed air, though I did, but because I needed noise. The kind that didn't come from inside me. Crickets. Distant traffic. A neighbor's dog. Honest sounds. Things that didn't lie. Madison's name still showed up on my phone sometimes. Not from her. From old emails, shared logins, autofill memories I hadn't deleted yet. Little ghosts. Spotify playlists, Amazon order history, a shared calendar invite from last year that just popped up with a notification, anniversary dinner at 7. I stared at that one longer than I should have. That was when it all started to go wrong, our last anniversary. She said she wanted something low-key. No photos. No gifts. No big scene. Just dinner and home. I thought she was tired. Now I know she was already stepping out of the marriage. While I was booking a table, she was making other plans. I went to that restaurant tonight. Sat at the bar. Ordered the same drink I had that night. Old-fashioned extra orange peel. I didn't expect anything from the visit. But then a guy 2 stools over turned to me. Rough night? He asked. I smiled. Not rough. Just revisiting. We talked for an hour. About nothing. Football. Local politics. Whiskey brands. He didn't ask about the pain behind my smile and I didn't offer it. And it was the first time in months I didn't feel like a victim. I felt like a man. A man who'd been betrayed, yes. Broken open, sure. But not shattered. Changed. Somewhere between that first message I found and tonight's quiet bar conversation, I realized something I hadn't been able to see before. I didn't need closure from Madison. I didn't need her apologies or her explanations or her regret. She had already given me everything I needed. Her lies. Her plans. Her exit. They were gifts in their own brutal way. They tore away the illusion. Left nothing but truth. And truth, no matter how ugly, is solid. You can build on truth. I paid my tab. Walked outside. The air smelled like rain. I didn't check my phone. I didn't look back. Because I wasn't waiting for anything anymore. And that was the beginning of something real. The divorce finalized on a Wednesday. No courtroom drama. No lawyer's breathing fire. Just a sterile email with an attached PDF and a timestamp, 10:14 a.m. Final judgment of dissolution of marriage. I opened the file. Scanned my name. Hers. The stamp. The seal. That was it. 8 years reduced to 6 pages and a single sentence. The marriage is hereby dissolved. I didn't feel anything at first. No triumph. No collapse. Just silence. A kind I hadn't felt before. Not the silence she left behind, the tense, watchful kind, but something quieter. Still, but not empty. Peace, maybe? That night, I sat on the back porch with a beer and no thoughts. It had rained. The wood was damp beneath me. The air smelled clean. And then my phone buzzed. One message. From her. No greeting. No pleasantries. Just this. You really never broke. I thought you would. I stared at it for a long time. And then I smiled. Because that was it. That was her last move. Not to apologize. Not to ask for anything. Just to check. To see if she still mattered. I didn't reply. I deleted the message and blocked the number. Not out of rage. Not out of spite. But because she didn't deserve even a single pixel of my screen anymore. In the weeks that followed, I changed things. New locks. New routine. I started running again. I painted the walls. Gave away the couch she picked out. Adopted a dog, Rusty, a mutt with one floppy ear and a stare like he's seen some things. He sleeps beside the bed now. Doesn't ask questions. Doesn't lie. Just breathes. Honest and warm. Sometimes people ask if I'm angry. If I miss her. The answer is complicated. I don't miss her. I miss the man I was before I let her shrink me. Before I bent myself around her needs, her moods, her stories. But that man? He's not coming back. And honestly, I'm glad. Because what came out of the wreckage, what crawled, what clawed its way through every lie, every betrayal, every sick little game, is someone I trust. Someone solid. Someone real. And if anyone reading this is in the thick of it, if you're staring down the barrel of betrayal and thinking you can't come out the other side, you can. You will. But you won't be the same. You'll be better. Stronger. Sharper. You'll learn that love isn't about how much you can forgive. It's about how much of yourself you refuse to lose. And one day, without warning, you'll look around and realize you're not surviving anymore. You're living.